Chelmno Extermination Camp by Annie Farmer. They had life, they had names, they had their joys and sorrows, they once had faces. A statement from the Krajinowski family who were murdered at the Chelmno Extermination Camp. Chelmno became one of the most deadliest extermination camps by turning a harmless city into a killing center, using poisonous gas for mass murder, and forming a Sonderkommando unit. The Nazis established killing centers for efficient mass murder as a part of the final solution. Unlike concentration camps, which served primarily as detention and labor centers, killing centers were referred to as death factories, and Chelmno, a small city roughly 50 miles from the Lodz ghetto, was one of them. The camp consisted of two parts: administration section, barracks, storage for the personal items the Jews brought with them, and a burial and cremation site. In the article Chelmno, it states at least 5,000 Jews were sent to Chelmno from the Lodz ghetto. This means the Nazis had mountains of their personal items, which included glasses, shoes, and so much more. In the article Chelmno Extermination Camp, it states that in the spring of 1942, 2 crematoria were built, and after that, all the dead were burnt in them. This shows that most of the victims that entered Chelmno would die this way. As the final solution began progressing, the number of deaths were multiplying faster and faster. Chelmno was the first camp as a part of the final solution to start using poisonous gas for mass murder. Chelmno had 3 gas vans at its disposal. These vans would pump carbon monoxide gas into a tightly sealed van full of Jewish people. In the article Chelmno Death Camp, it states that the Jews were convinced until the very last minute that they were being transported to go work in the East. They had no idea of what was coming next, and there was no way out. Once the doors of the van were closed, the Jews had no way of escaping, not knowing that this would be their last time living. In the article Chelmno Extermination Camp, it states that after the door was opened, 10 minutes were allowed for the complete evaporation of gas, and then the bodies were unloaded and carefully searched for concealed gold and valuables. Gold teeth were pulled out, finger rings torn off. By the time the last processes were completed, the corpses were no longer people, but bodies who had no character and nothing to set them apart. This is exactly what the Nazis wanted to accomplish, and they did, without hesitation. You might think that the Nazis were the only people to take part in the murder process of the Jews, but that is simply not the case. Under the command of Herbert Lang, the Sonderkommando unit helped efficiently facilitate the deceased Jewish people. In the US HMM article on Chelmno, it says that Sonderkommandos consisted of those Jewish prisoners selected to remain alive as forced laborers to facilitate the killing processes, particularly the disposal of corpses. A small number of strong, healthy men were kept alive for a while in order to help dispose of the bodies and sort through all the belongings of the dead Jews. They were kept in iron shackles 24 hours a day to prevent their escape. These people were usually killed within days or weeks and replaced by others from new transports. One of the Sonderkommando workers included Simon Serebnik, who successfully escaped from Chelmno. As his fellow workers were replaced every few days, Simon lasted for 10 months. The Nazis used him for their own amusement by forcing him into athletic contests. In the article 1945, Simon Serebnik survives execution at Chelmno. It states that Simon and his fellow sufferers were the last prisoner workers left at Chelmno, and they were shot as a part of the cleanup process by the Nazis. As Chelmno was liberated, the Russians came to Simon's aid and nursed him back to health. Simon Serebnik was just one of the few people who survived one of the most deadliest extermination camps. Chelmno became one of the most deadliest extermination camps by turning a harmless city into a killing center, using poisonous gas for mass murder, and forming a Sonderkommando unit. The Holocaust was one of the biggest tragedies in history, and the Chelmno death camp was just one small part of a big plan to destroy the Jewish population. This chart shows the causes of death in the Holocaust. Chelmno counts for just 3% of all deaths in the Holocaust. This graph shows the world Jewish population over time. Between 1939 and 1948 is when the Holocaust happened, and it was a loss of 6 million Jewish people.